Hi, Olivia.
Hi.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
It's so nice to have you here.
Oh my God, I am so excited.
Are
to be
you?
here. Yes. Oh my God, when I got invited, I cried. Literally, I was so excited.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, don't, that's getting me emotional.
I actually did.
Why did you cry?
Because it's so massive, and I've been listening to them and thinking how amazing they are. And when Lauren came on, I was so excited for her.
That was amazing.
And then I got the email, and I was like, oh my God, yes. Replied within about 30 seconds.
Did you? Oh my God, I
Yeah.
honestly can't tell you how much that means to me. We were absolutely so excited to have you here today. You've been on this huge journey that you've shared online, and we really wanted to get you in today to talk about that incredible journey that you have been through. So I'd like to start kind of at the beginning for you, if we could, with your journey with cancer.
Yeah.
Kind of how you first found out about your cancer, how you were first diagnosed.
So it was 2 years ago now, it must have been. I was on holiday in Mallorca, and I started feeling a bit of a pain in my chest, and I didn't know what it was. I noticed that it kept coming back when I drank alcohol, so I'd have a glass of wine with lunch or something, and then I'd be like, God, Mum, this pain is back again, and it kept happening. And then we noticed that it happens every time you have alcohol, so we thought maybe it was related to that, maybe it was some sort of anxiety. I went to the doctors, and they said to me, we think it's anxiety because we can't think of any correlation between alcohol and a pain in your chest. Anyway, for about 6 months, I think, I was going back and forth to the doctors. And then at the end of those 6 months, I noticed that I had some lumps come up in my neck. And I called the doctors and I said, it's not an emergency, but I found some lumps in my neck. Do you think I should come in? And they passed the message on to my doctors and said, yes, come in now. And I was like, oh, God. So I left work, went to the doctors, and they referred me to the hospital. And then I think it was about a week after that, I found out that it was actually cancer. Went for some scans, biopsies to find out what stage it was at. And then I found out I had stage 2 Hodgkin's lymphoma, which at that point was almost good news to me because I found out that I'd had cancer. Stage 2 wasn't too far on, but also Hodgkin's lymphoma was something that was quite easily treated. Not easily, I had to go through 6 months of chemotherapy, but there was a good prognosis for the type of cancer that I had. So when I found out, I was almost happy. I remember running down the stairs to Mum going, it's Hodgkin's lymphoma! And it's no one has ever said I have cancer in that tone of voice before.
No. And so in that moment when you first found out, did you do a lot of research? Because you just said then that you've sort of been told, you've got cancer, and then you've had to wait for the results on exactly what it is. So what was going through your mind then?
So I knew it was lymphoma, but I didn't know whether it was non-Hodgkin's or Hodgkin's. So after doing the research, I kind of realised I want to have Hodgkin's lymphoma because that was the treatment plan that was more successful than others. So when I found out, I was quite happy, and then not happy, you know what I mean? Obviously not happy, but pleased to know that it was that type of cancer. And then, you're handed leaflets and booklets and everything with all the information on, and I really quickly started treatment after finding out. I think it was the week after I found out I had to start chemotherapy, which was really, really scary. Not much time to kind of think about it, which is a blessing in a way.
And as a 22-year-old at that time, you can't imagine you or one of your friends getting cancer.
No.
And I don't know whether that's because it's just not spoken about enough, or that people aren't aware that this happens to 22-year-olds.
So there's actually 34 young adults in the UK diagnosed with cancer every single day. And for some reason, it's just not spoken about. And I remember when I was diagnosed and I found out that statistic, and I was thinking, where are you all? Please, I want to be friends with you. So that was where my blog started, really, because I thought I'm desperate to reach out and find other people in the same situation as me. So I wrote a blog, and it was shared, and eventually I had loads of people coming into my inbox and saying, I've got that too, and I'd love to connect, and so that was...
Because that's what I want to talk about. You've started off this platform for yourself. You've got your YouTube channel, you've got your Instagram, you've got your blog, where you have shared your journey quite openly in a lot of stages. I've followed that since, I think, 2 years now. I've been sort of following you and watching your journey.
I said to the girls earlier, I followed you for ages.
I know, actually, it's so weird to actually sit here and talk, because I remember the day I followed you. I think Ruby, who's your best friend, I think Ruby had shared one of your stories on Instagram, and I remember like I just was flicking through the reel and I looked at it and I was like, oh my God, who is this girl? So I went through, and then I can't remember what the story was on the day, and I just remember thinking, this girl's incredible. Like whatever I was worrying about that day, I was like, stop worrying about it. Like this girl is absolutely amazing. And to share your story, like we find that really inspirational. Was it a big decision, though, to decide to put yourself out there so much on the internet?
Do you know what? I've always been really into, like, Instagram and sharing my life and, like, putting pictures on. So for me, it was kind of the decision to not stop doing that, but to carry on. And almost my life was more interesting to people to follow. So that's like how I built up that following. It wasn't like, now I've got cancer, I'm going to start posting. I'd always done that, but all of a sudden it was so different to other people's lives.
There was a different meaning to it.
There was, yeah. And I remember saying to my friends, if this does come back that I've got cancer, I really want to make something out of it and like start a blog and raise awareness, because I just remember thinking, I haven't seen this happen to anyone else before, but it must do. So why are we not speaking about it? So yeah, I remember saying I'm going to start a blog and talk about it.
So you said that prior to actually being diagnosed. You'd gone for the sort of test and said...
Yeah, and wow. I just remember thinking in my mind, like, if it does come back that, I'm definitely going to do a blog, yeah.
And how did your friends react when you did get the diagnosis? What was their reaction like?
So for me, I'm quite an open person, if you hadn't already guessed. And throughout, like, going through the tests and for the 6 months, like, back and forth to the doctors, my friends had always known, like, what was going on. So I think when I was diagnosed, it wasn't out of the blue.
Right.
It was always like it could be that, or it might not be, but when I did tell them, it was always like an option that could have happened. So I don't know if they were too much in shock, or maybe they just didn't want to see me in front of me.
Yeah.
But yeah, they didn't. I don't know. Maybe that's just what they wanted me to think, that they weren't shocked and that they weren't too upset. Maybe they were to one another, but to me, they weren't. And I actually told everyone over WhatsApp as well. I put it in the group chat.
And why was that? Is that because it's sort of easier to...
Yeah, just easier. Rather than trying to get everyone together just to tell them this bad news, it was more like, it just happened an hour ago, and I put it in the group chat, like, just to let you guys know this has happened. So they
kind of had time to take it in for themselves.
Yeah, and maybe decide what they wanted to say to me,
like,
rather than just shocking them on the spot, where the reaction could have upset me.
Exactly.
I knew if I tell them over text, they've got time to talk to their other friends, talk to one another, and decide what they want to do, like, as a group, rather than me just throw it upon them.
Yeah.
You know?
Because you were actually in university at the time, weren't you?
Yeah, I was in my third year.
And you were living away?
Yeah, in Brighton.
Tell me about that. Like that.
So, I actually, in my third year, I'd made the decision not to go into uni houses because I couldn't deal with, like, living in a dirty uni house anymore.
I've been there.
I lived in, like, hotels and Airbnbs. What? Which is terrible, I know.
I wasn't expecting that.
I actually worked out that it cost the same amount of money to do that than to get a uni house. So I was like, I'm doing that.
I'm going to get told off of my shop face again here. But I'm so shocked.
Yeah.
How clever.
I know. I was like, Dad, I'm in the Hilton this week.
Just bougie
but
it up in the penthouse. But it was
fun because, like, uni housing is so expensive. And that was the same price. So.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I feel like you're the only uni student that's ever done this. If there's anyone listening that has done this before, please let us know in the comments, because I am outstanding.
Yeah. I used to invite my other friends who were in uni housing and be like, do you want to come swimming in the hotel this evening?
Do you want to come see my pool?
Do you want to sleep over?
That is crazy. Yeah. You are so clever for figuring that out. But so you were in university and you got diagnosed.
Yeah.
How did that change? Because I know you carried on with university through your treatment.
Yeah.
And I couldn't imagine, for one, going through what you were going through, and two, juggling uni work in your third final year. How on earth did you manage that?
Do you know what? I just decided I need something to focus on. Yeah. I can't be... I'm that sort of person. I always need something to do. Like, I can't just be sat there watching TV. I don't even like watching TV because it's just not, like, I just don't find that fun. I can't. Yeah. I can't relax. I'm just not that sort of person. So I knew I needed something, and so I said to my lecturer, I'm going to carry on. And she said, I don't think you should. I think you should stop and come back next year. And I was like, no. And she was like, really, I think that you should. And she didn't think that I'd be able to do very well with chemo and like uni work, she thought I wouldn't get a good grade, and I was like, I can do it, and she was like, okay. So I did it, and to be honest, I didn't have much contact with the uni throughout that time. I got sent assignments, I completed them, and I sent them back. I didn't really have much contact with lecturers. I didn't ever go in. I had a couple of phone calls here and there, but what was really helpful was I made my project about cancer. Yeah. So it was related to what I was going through, which made me feel really passionate about it rather than disconnected to it. So that was, I think, what kind of motivated me to do it.
Can you tell me a little bit about that project? Because I'm skipping forward here, so I'll end up going back to it. But that project that you created through uni, was that the project that's actually kind of come to life?
Yeah. So my project was creating a charity called Cancer Chicks, and I basically, through my treatment, decided that I hadn't had enough support in like the change of appearance that I was going through, and the kind of, I was having an identity crisis. Basically, I'd lost my hair. I was feeling really ugly. I didn't know what to do. There was as much as I would like Google it, there was nothing coming up to tell me like what I should wear, what I should like, what wigs to buy, what headscarves to buy, how to tie them, how to do my makeup. There is advice out there, of course, but I just didn't feel like it related to me as a 22-year-old who was really, really into fashion. Yeah. So I started like documenting what I was doing myself. I started a blog, and that was getting about 60,000 views on it. And so then I kind of realised there is a need for this. Yeah. And I wanted to connect people as well, because I was getting so many messages in my inbox, people who were going through the same thing, and they wanted to connect with someone like me who they could relate to. Yeah. But I was getting so many messages that I couldn't even reply to all of them. So I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll start a group chat. So I put on my story, I'm going to start a group chat on WhatsApp. Message me if you want to be in it. And I got about 50 to 100 people saying, can I be in it? And I was like, God, I don't think that's going to work on WhatsApp.
How are you going to manage that? Wow.
Yeah, I think that's going to be too many people. Like, it's going to be annoying, too many messages. So I said, okay, I'm going to start a Facebook group. Yeah. So I did that, and I called it Cancer Chicks. And there's now 700 people in that group. And there's between 5 and 10 posts every day of people just chatting to each other, asking whether other people have been through the same experience, whether that's to do with their treatment or their eyelashes or their eyebrows, or what moisturiser to use, or can I use fake tan, just all that sort of information that it's not given to you at the hospital, but through connecting with other people who are going through the same is such a huge comfort. Yeah. So that was what Cancer Chicks is, and my uni project was basically just really thoroughly planning exactly how that was going to work out. Yeah. And it's now partnered with another charity called Trekstock, and we work together to put on events, and it's really, really...
absolutely incredible. Yeah. It's so amazing to see something that you worked on in uni through a really difficult time in your life actually come true now. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later on as well, because I want to go even further into that. Okay, so you touched on hair loss then, and that's something you've spoken a lot about through your channel. And I think I watched on one of your YouTube videos where you said that losing your hair was one of the most life-changing experiences that has ever happened to you. So can you tell me a little bit about that, please?
So for me, losing my hair is one of the most life-changing things, yes, but also the most scary thing, because if you think about it, it's really stripping you back. And for me, my long blonde hair was my identity. That was the way that everyone saw me and how I felt I was known. And it wasn't until I lost my hair that I realised all of these other things about me that was deeper down than just on the surface, the way that I looked. I realised that actually I did have a passion, I was confident, and I looked at all of these other characteristics and decided that that was what was me, rather than looking on the surface and thinking, I'm Olivia, I've got long blonde hair and I'm into fashion. Yeah. I look at, I'm Olivia, I am passionate, I'm confident, I've got a good sense of humour, and I didn't realise any of that until I lost what I thought was me. Yeah. And I think that's where my confidence has come from, because no matter whether people like my hair or my outfit, I know that I'm more than that. Yeah.
I love that you've learned that about yourself through that.
Yeah.
Because I think that's something that it's a message that everybody should kind of
100%. Because I think more often than not, people are lacking confidence due to the way they look.
Yeah.
And for me, I look past that now. When I thought that was who I was, I didn't look past that. Yeah. So, yeah.
And when you did lose your hair, you decided to rock your bald head and not wear a wig. And you made, quite a statement with that.
I did make a statement.
Tell me about that. Why did you decide, I'm not going to wear a wig, I'm going to
Do you know what? I just thought anyone can be diagnosed with cancer, and it's nothing to do with the way that you've lived your life. For example, cancer is often related to bad diet, smoking, alcohol. I didn't get cancer because I smoked. I didn't smoke. I didn't drink an excessive amount of alcohol, and I had a healthy diet. It was in my control. So it was nothing to be embarrassed about. And I think for me, I was really into like making sure that other people knew it's nothing to be ashamed about. It's one of the most tough things I'll ever go through in my life. Why do I need to hide that from people? It's something to be proud of, rather than to, oh God, I can't let people see me like this. So I literally never wore a wig.
I love that. We admire you for that. And it was actually picked up quite a lot in the press. I saw a lot of articles
a lot of people
around that.
Really,
How was that sort of attention?
I think for me, I was kind of like, why is everybody obsessed with this? And I was like, this is just me. This is just what I look like.
Just doing me.
Yeah, I was like, it's only no hair. Like, for me, it wasn't a big deal. Looking back, I think, Hun, how did you go, like, to the Ivy for dinner with no hair on? Like, are you mad? But, like, at the time, that was just me. Like, if I put a wig on, I just thought, who is that? But I think, look, if I saw someone else doing that now, and I'd look at them and think, wow, like, that's strong, and that's really, really confident to be able to do that. And I remember somebody described me as being confident when I had no hair. It was Ruby, actually. She said that I was confident, and I thought, am I? I was like, how am I? And I was stood there with no hair, a big furry cardigan on, massive glasses, like, what? I was like, am I? But yeah, I think at the time that was me, and that was just it. I didn't think it was a big deal at all.
I think everything you've said since the moment you've stepped into this room describes how strong as a person you are and how strong you've been to overcome what you've been through. And I feel that everything that you've done on social media and through your channel and through your platforms has most definitely helped a lot of people in this world. But do you also think it's helped you as a person? Yeah.
Do you know what? Somebody said to me, if you could choose whether you had cancer or you didn't right now, would you say you choose to have it or not? And that was when I still had it, and I said I'd choose to have it, because without it, I actually don't know who I would be right now or what I'd be doing. So yeah, without a doubt, I'm just glad that it happened to me, because it's made me as a person rather than break me as a person.
I think that was on one of your YouTube videos. I watched that video, and I remember you saying that, and I sat, as I have just here, like, listening to you say it again, in person, to me is so overwhelming, because wow, I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that before, but that's how life-changing this has been for you.
Yeah, 100%.
And so you're very strong, I get that from you, but who was strong for you? Who was your support system? Who did you turn to?
I've got a really, really supportive and close group of girlfriends, so that was really, really important to me through that time. They all made sure that they were exactly where I wanted them to be when I needed them, and they all were like spending their Friday nights in with me when I couldn't go out, but mainly my mum literally lived in each other's back pockets for the last year and a bit, because it's made us so close as well. Whenever I was admitted to hospital, she wouldn't leave my side. She would sit in the chair next to the bed for a week and not go to sleep the whole time, but she just wouldn't leave me. So yeah, honestly I don't know why I would do that with my mum.
And as well, you spoke then about your friends coming and seeing you. How I found that really interesting. As a 22-year-old, you've mentioned before in one of your vlogs that you're watching people's stories. You've got fear of missing out syndrome.
Yeah.
How much did that affect you as a person, not being able to do the normal things in life that you felt you should be doing?
Yeah, I've said before, the hardest thing about the whole process was the fact that I felt I was sitting on the sidelines watching everyone else's life go by, and I just wanted to get on with mine, because we're at that really pivotal moment in your life where people are finishing uni and they're starting their careers and they're moving to London or they're going travelling, and I just felt like it was so unfair because all I could do was sit at home. And in a way, I think, again, I'm glad that happened, because I had that year to sit at home and think of everything else that I wished that I could be doing. And now I'm just making sure that I'm doing all of it. Whereas before, I don't know whether I would have known that I wanted to do all that, because it was never taken away from me. But now I know exactly what I want to be doing, and I'm started doing it.
And you're definitely doing it. I'm going to talk a bit more about Cancer Chicks. You have turned this, what is a negative situation, into such a positive, incredible platform for yourself and for others. Did you ever imagine that you could do that? Or that you could do this would happen?
No. I always doubted myself as a person, and I never saw myself as this person at all. I always just thought I'm just like, you know, you don't ever think of yourself to be capable of anything, and I didn't really have that drive in me, and I just always thought I'm just such an average person. Like, it's amazing that other people do that, but that's never going to be me. I could only ever like dream of that. But literally,
but I wouldn't even think that of you now, but like, really? You to say that, like you say, people come up to you and say, like, you're so confident, like, because you do portray that.
No, I didn't think of myself as that person at all. I think mediocre was the word that I always thought of myself. But
You're definitely not mediocre. You are far from mediocre. You are
thanks.
absolutely incredible and very, very inspirational. So I'm going to take it back to Cancer Chicks, which I believe is now your full-time job.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what an achievement. Congratulations, first of all.
Thank you.
But did you ever imagine that you could turn this into a career?
No, not for a second did I think that helping other people would be my full-time job. What an amazing job to have as well. Like, I enjoy it so much, and to be able to have a career that is actually affecting people's lives isn't something that I thought I'd be capable of, especially when it's surrounded with what I love, fashion. Yeah. So for that to come into my life and bring something that I love with something I feel so passionate about together is such a blessing.
And what's coming next for Cancer Chicks? What is the mission?
I think we just want to help as many people around the UK as we can. We want to reach and spread all over the country and just ensure that no one has to face cancer alone. That is the aim, and partnered with Trekstock, that ensures that that's really going to happen. So, yeah. And
tell us a little bit about Trekstock. So they're a partner charity?
Yeah, so Trekstock are a charity that actually started 10 years ago. It's their 10th anniversary this year. And they are a charity for people in their 20s and 30s diagnosed with cancer. Right. So I find 20s and 30s is a bit of an awkward in-between stage, because often there are charities that are there to support children, and then there's charities that are there to support older people. Yeah. And in your 20s and 30s, you don't really feel like you fit into those categories. Yeah. So that's where Trekstock kind of come in. They're there and they're relevant to your lives, and they're almost cool. And the events that they put on don't feel cancer related. Yeah. It's meetups in a pub, or it's a style night, or it's going to a really cool brand, or, you know, like it's really fun events that you want to be involved in, not something you wish that never happened to you. Yeah, it's something that I really, really love to be involved in, because I know they supported me hugely through my treatment. So, yeah, it's great to be involved.
Now, I think it's quite evident through this podcast and through speaking to you, but I just want to ask you, you've mentioned that going through cancer has really changed your life, but how do you think, if you could sum it up in a sentence, how do you think it's changed your life?
I think, for me, I've literally I've grown into a person that I never thought I could be. I've got so much drive that I never knew was there. Yeah. And I like to say, like, it's funny what was hiding behind all that hair. Because
I wasn't expecting that.
I always say that because it is funny that I just thought that as a person I was all to do with the way I looked, and now I realise that I'm so much more than that, so much more that I'm capable of. Yeah. And that's how I've grown as a person, just realising it's not all on the surface.
Okay, and on to the future. And what's going on with you.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know, you mentioned in one of your vlogs that you were actually in a relationship prior to being diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
Now, I knew that throughout your treatment and throughout your journey, you were single.
Yeah.
But I wanted to know if there's anyone on the horizon for you now. You're smirking at me.
I am.
I actually saw something on your story last night too, and it was like somebody, it was a little detective sign. What had they written? They'd asked you, so I thought, right, there's a story here.
This is not even been put on my Instagram yet, but I'll give you a little sneak preview if you have to know. No, I'm joking.
If you have to know, I do. Come on, Olivia.
So, yeah, I went on a few dates with a guy.
Yeah.
And that kind of escalated pretty quickly.
Ooh.
And then he invited me out to Dubai because he was on a family holiday, and he was like, I really want you to be here. Can I fly you out? And I was like, yeah. And I flew out and literally just had the best time ever.
Wait, so this is why you were in Dubai?
Yeah.
Oh, it's all coming together now. I've got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're now officially boyfriend and girlfriend.
You're officially? You've not even told anyone. Oh my God.
I know.
Everyone listening right now, thank you so much, Olivia, for sharing that with us.
Yeah, I know. So, yeah, it's not even been on Instagram yet. I don't know how to announce it. Like, hello everyone, this is my boyfriend. I feel like we should announce
it through the podcast.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
and then do you think through announcing it and talking about him, do you think that he will ever make an appearance on your social media? Will you ever include
yeah,
him?
100%, yeah.
Oh, but I can't wait to meet him through your social media.
Oh God, he's the perfect Instagram boyfriend.
Is he?
Yeah, he loves taking the pictures as well,
That's
which
what
is
you
just,
need.
yeah, isn't it?
That's what your girl needs right now.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so happy that you found someone that I hope he's amazing to you, and I can't wait to meet him through the gram. No, you're now in remission.
Yeah.
Which is amazing, and we are so happy for you. What is the most important thing that this journey has taught you?
Oh God, I think the most important thing is you just don't know what's around the corner.
Yeah.
And it's not to live your life in fear, but it's to live your life knowing that anything could happen at any time. So make sure that you're living to the full. And I know that sounds wishy-washy, but once you know the meaning of that, you really make sure that you do it.
Yeah.
So,
what advice would you give to anyone who is going through a similar journey to what you've been through?
I think the advice that I would have loved to hear when I first got diagnosed was that it's not going to be as bad as you think. When you're put in this situation, you've just got to get through it. And I think, for me anyway, I almost disconnected myself from the situation and just thought of it as like someone like telling this story of this girl going through cancer, and I never at the time thought, oh God, that's me. It was just something that you just have to get through, and I think your mind just goes into that mode where it's just like, okay, go, and you just get through it, and then you get to the end and you think, my God, like, how did I do that? But honestly, when it's yourself, you just do it. It's just I think it's natural. It's a natural reaction to what's happening, and at the end, you can probably expect a massive rush of feelings and emotions to come out. But yeah, once you're going through it, you just have to do it, and it won't be as bad as you think.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. And to anybody who is experiencing a loved one going through cancer, what advice would you give to them on maybe how to help, how to approach somebody, how that they can be there for their loved one?
I think for me anyway, and obviously everybody is different and the way that people want to be supported is different. But for me, I liked people to just act how they would have acted before. I didn't want any special treatment. I wanted practical help, for example, like giving me lifts or bringing me food or like, that sort of thing. But I didn't want people to send me flowers or send me cards or send me chocolates. I wanted people to come and see me and hang out with me as they normally would have. And I just didn't want that special treatment. I just wanted to be me. And I think a lot of the people that I'm friends with through this journey 100% agree with me. They like to be treated as though they would have been treated before, and they just want your company. Just be you.
Be you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today on PLT Behind Closed Doors. It's actually been amazing finally getting to know you, and thank you so much for sharing your story with us here. Now, we have got an exclusive part of the podcast, so I'm going to switch over to YouTube. So to everybody for watching at home, if you would like to hear the exclusive part of the podcast where we slide into Olivia's DMs, I've not even given her the warning. We're about to slide into your DMs. Okay. If you would like to slide into Olivia's DMs with us, then please click the link below and you can come and hear the exclusive part of the podcast. This has been PLT Behind Closed Doors with Olivia Rose Smith. Thank you so much for coming in, and thank you everybody for watching.